Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Ryder. And Bill, before we get to the basketball, congrats on Barca, winners of La Liga. What a campaign.
Visca Barca, Visca
Mhm.
Catalunya. Let's go Lamine Yamal. I know it's a basketball pod. What did you get to watch it? Because I had to watch it on delay. I just turned all my phones and stuff off. A banger of a goal by Lamine Yamal to basically put the thing away. Incredible,
I
17-year-old
I
kid.
didn't get to I didn't get to it yesterday. I was deep into the League One playoffs in the EFL.
Okay,
That's a super deep
okay.
cut for people who are just waiting for Premier League soccer
Wow.
for this weekend. But yeah, I know that's the kind of life I lead, Bill. In between watching basketball all day long, I'll queue up a little third tier soccer. We got a lot going on over here.
Next time, just queue up some Barcelona.
I
It
know,
was there
I
for
know.
you. It was waiting.
I know. Well, I got a push alert, so it was kind of spoiled for me. But anyway, congratulations on Barca. All right, basketball. Later in the program, the Wolves have reached their second straight Western Conference Finals. We'll discuss their season to date and their chances going forward. The Warriors on summer vacation. We'll get into what their offseason might look like. And a big game six between the Celtics and the Knicks tonight. We'll do previews and predictions on that. But first, Oklahoma City Nuggets game six. The Nugs won by 12. Game seven incoming in Oklahoma City on Sunday, Bill. Now, a couple of things I'm just going to run past you here. Oklahoma City has won six straight game sevens. The Nugs are 0-4 all time on the road in game sevens. However, the Nugs just won a game seven at home versus the Clips, and Joker is 10-5 in elimination games. I don't know what all that means, but we got a game seven on Sunday. That's what it means.
You know what I mean? Here's what I want your temperature. We just got asked this question from a producer here on the show, one of our colleagues about the Knicks. You are, understandably, wisely, reasonably, and maybe it will turn out to be accurately, Team Thunder versus the field. I am not. What is your confidence level right now, not just in game seven, but in this Thunder team living up to the expectations of the regular season? And at a minimum, right, making the conference finals? Because I'm feeling pretty good about fading the Thunder in that respect.
So Oklahoma City is -8 on Sunday, which I thought was really heavy. I picked Oklahoma City. You picked Oklahoma City in this series too, right? We both did. I think we had all the same picks in
In
the second
this
round.
series, yeah, but I think initially the Warriors to go to the finals, and as things progressed, the winner of the other series. So I got the Timberwolves beating whoever wins this series.
Yeah. I had Oklahoma City in the series. I think I'm leaning Nuggets in game seven, Bill. I mean, right
Oh, too.
now, I thought the Nuggets could have won game five, but they blew an opportunity. They were terrible in the fourth quarter. I thought the Nuggets were really great last night. Finally, and I guess we could just get into this now. Finally, Joker got some help. So last night, going into last night's game, there were some questions about whether or not Jamal Murray was going to play. He was questionable with an illness. Bill, I don't know what they hopped him up on, what they put in his IV. He looked fantastic. He played 42 minutes. He had 25 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 9 for 19 from the floor. Bill, at certain points, he was sitting on the sideline and he looked exhausted. He looked miserable. He looked like he just wanted to go and lay down and like sleep until Sunday maybe. And yet he was out there just killing it. And then we got the Julian Strawther game out of nowhere.
Yeah, we did.
Where did Julian Strawther come from?
I forgot he's on the team. I mean, by the way,
Yeah.
can we just? I know the flu game thing is sort of is trite now and is a cliche, but and he's not Jordan. This is not the finals. It's that level of a performance, and we just showed that he had 25 points last night. That's also the magic number for Murray and for the Nuggets. And you and I have talked about this a lot. But when Murray in the playoffs in the Nuggets' career scores 25 points or more, they win the majority of those games. When he gets to 30, they win almost every one of those games. And as you said, Joker always needs help, and it's in successful runs. It's always been Jamal Murray as a sort of number two. Look, it
Mhm.
was nice to see Michael Porter. Michael Porter Jr. had, I think, 10 points, and if I
He
remember right,
did.
made two threes, and it felt like 40 points by comparison to what he's done in the past. And you mentioned, it was a team effort, but to see Jamal Murray go out there, it's so significant because I think it now puts so much pressure on the Thunder. And you and I have talked a lot in the past about the 2016 NBA Finals and the 3-1 collapse of the Warriors and how Cleveland came back. And I think the biggest lesson I took from that is that you throw out game sevens. You throw out the point spread. You throw out the idea that it's a home team. It does, especially in comebacks, it just doesn't matter. The Celtics stormed back from a 3-0 deficit, 2 years ago, and then lost to the Heat, an inferior team in a game seven at home. There's that Warriors loss to Cleveland in that game seven. I don't know what the hell is going to happen on Sunday, but I do know that the reason it's happening and the fact there's all this uncertainty is because I think largely Jamal Murray gutted it out. I think emergency is the answer to your question. Do you ever put that in your water and just stir it when you're sick?
Yeah.
15 emergencies is my move. Whatever he had, that is a world-class performance. That is a world-class gutsy performance. And his arrival, literally ability to play, and then how he played, it's not just what he did, it's the pressure he placed on the Thunder. Credit to that guy in a big way.
Yeah. He was banging back Gatorades and vitamin C and vitamin D and whatever other vitamins they could pump him. That 2-man game between him and Joker, when it's working, when he's aggressive, when he's hunting his shots, it just opens up so much, and it gives them a greater margin for error because, look, Julian Strawther had 15 points last night and hit 3 out of his 4 threes, which, to your point about MPJ, it felt like 40, right? Just because they got somebody off the bench to hit an open 3. You get an open look, and they finally knocked it down. Christian Brown also was good last night, but really it comes down to Jamal Murray and Joker and whether or not those two guys are working. Because Jamal Murray in game 5, he had 28 points, but it took him 27 shots. He was super inefficient, and he got cold in the fourth quarter, as they all did. They got outscored in the fourth quarter of that game 34-19, but they closed in game 6. This was the difference between these two teams last night. Aside from the fact that the Nuggets got some help from the supporting cast off the bench, the fact that they closed in the fourth quarter, they were perfect 12 for 12 from the line. And the Oklahoma City Thunder went super cold. They went 2 for 12 from 3. They just could not hit a shot from deep in the fourth quarter.
I mean, they made 27.5% of their threes. And I'm trying, I think SGA, he hit half of his threes. He didn't take a ton, but you take SGA out, who was amazing and looked like an MVP and was great. They were awful. And to me, and we've talked about this, the pressure of the moment was real. And I know it's hard to win on the road, and I know it's hard to beat Nikola Jokic and a Denver team when they get contributions, but I also think one of the adversaries the Thunder are up against are just the very reasonable but massive expectations. They were the 1 seed last year, the 1 seed now. It just feels different, right? Last year was a tiebreaker situation. It was very sort of bottled together. And when they lost to the Mavs in the second round, it wasn't an earth-shattering, the sky is falling moment.
Yeah.
If they lose to Denver on Sunday, Chicken Little's going to run out of wherever hell he's at and point to the sky, and he's going to be right this time for the Thunder. And the way that Jalen Williams in particular played was, look, it happens, but we've talked so much about Joker needs help. SGA needs help, and we just assumed he would get it because they're so deep and they're so good defensively. And I think the pressure in Denver too, but that's a thing, and that's part of what they're fighting on Sunday.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I was asked about it pregame about, okay, well, who needs to step up beyond SGA? And the answer is you never know with Oklahoma City because they're so deep that on any given night, and this is how they play during the regular season, it's always SGA. And then you'd get like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 guys who would just step forward and be like, oh, tonight's my night. I'm also going to be really good. In game 6, it was just SGA. And a couple of things happened in game 6. One, they didn't close the second quarter well. Going into the half, it looked like they could really pull away. And then SGA he got his 4th foul in the second quarter, and they had to yank him from the game. And then the wheels came off, and who was it? Kason Wallace hit a 3 at the buzzer going into the half that like stemmed the tide a little bit. But the Nuggets really made up a lot of ground, and instead of going into the half like down huge, it was a pretty small deficit. And then they took it, they started playing much better in the second half. But yes, I'm glad you flagged Jalen Williams because he had 7 rebounds and 10 assists and 3 steals and a block, but he also had 6 points on 16 shots last night. It's great that he did all the other stuff, and he was trying to make his impact felt, defensively and rebounding and distributing. But when they needed points last night, there was only one guy scoring for them. Chet was fine. Chet had 19. That was fine. But they really needed they needed like offensive game. Jalen Williams, who had 32 in the overtime loss in game 3, and he was nowhere to be found. And that's when all of a sudden that secondary scoring, that is something that's like a little worrisome if you're Oklahoma City.
I was talking to Lisa Leslie. I was just talking with Lisa Leslie the other day before this game. And she made the point, because we were talking about the Pacers and just how people didn't see it coming. And she made the point, and I thought it was really interesting, that the advantage the Pacers have that people missed is that this is more even than in years past, the NBA playoffs, a war of attrition, of health, right? The best healthy team moves forward. And if you have a lot of guys, not only do you have, if someone goes down, you can have more people step up. But if you have a ton of guys you play minutes for, you're Rick Carlisle, you can spread those minutes around. And I was thinking about the Thunder in this context. The Thunder are healthy. The Thunder have had the same sort of good luck. The Thunder have been able to spread the minutes around. The Thunder are extremely, extremely deep. And but they have something that the Pacers don't have to deal with, and that is again this pressure, because that should be. I was just thinking about what Lisa said. That should be another major. She was referring to the Pacers' advantage in having this depth, but the Thunder are really deep too. And you noted they can throw so many guys at you. The second or third most important guy changes night to night, like it does with the Pacers. So that's another advantage and they haven't lost yet. But if they lose, they're also squandering this reality that they're deeper than most teams at a time in the NBA, as Lisa Leslie put it. I think she's right, where that is more significant to being a champion than maybe it's been in 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure if you're Oklahoma City. I mean, if you're the Nuggets, you won a championship 2 years ago, and you weren't the favorite coming into this. And I think you're playing a little bit. Also, you fired your head coach and your general manager right before the playoffs. And kind of like if you somehow you just won a game 7 in the first round, if you can win another one, all of a sudden, like, hey, this is all gravy. I have some questions about where Oklahoma City should go in game 7. But also, if they don't win this game 7, Bill, then as I mentioned previously, they will be the first team in NBA history to be the 1 seed in 2 straight playoffs and not make the conference finals in 2 straight playoffs. It's never happened in NBA history. And like they're staring down the barrel of it right now. Let's take a quick break. And then on the other side, I want to discuss a little bit about adjustments potentially for game 7, because I've got some thoughts on that for both sides. And then we should probably we should not be cowards. We're going to do game picks on the other side for game 7. That's coming up. Don't go anywhere. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right. Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. John and Bill here breaking down Oklahoma City Nuggets ahead of game 7 on Sunday. Bill, I just want to talk about the head coaches and potential adjustments. So we'd kind of been like laughing about Joker being the actual head coach, in huddles and things like that. I think David Adelman has done a pretty good job, though, because at the very least, Bill, he's willing to play the hot hand. He's not like Doc Rivers, your guy, is famously always locked in. He's your guy. He's famously always locked into rotations. He in-game adjustments are not his thing. David Adelman is like a riverboat gambler. Whoever the hot hand is, he's going to leave him out there. There were moments where, Russ in this series and in previous series was playing well, and then in the series was not playing well. For example, last night, I didn't think it was particularly effective, ended up on the bench. Julian Strawther comes to mind. He left Julian Strawther and to can a couple threes and just like keep the momentum going. Adelman now, I think like that whole, like, we'll just see how it, like, even MPJ had 10 points on 9 shots last night, but he only played 29 minutes because towards the end of the game, Strawther was playing better. So he left him out there. I thought David Adelman, like his willingness to just like, I don't have that many guys. My bench isn't very good. If I get any spark from any of these guys, you get to play.
Look, it is really hard to assess with any coach with a giant sample size, Michael Malone included, frankly, where their excellence stops and Jokic's greatness begins.
Yeah.
That's one of the blessings and curses of coaching an all-time great. It's not just, guys that have coached Jokic, LeBron, Mike, Steph, whatever. In that smaller sample size, it's even harder to read. I think I'm with you. Adelman's done a really, really good job. And I do think vibes matter for coaches, right? I mean, there's different coaches that have different strengths. The vibes are good. Like, he goes out there and he takes the blame and he's chilling the press conference. The guys seem to like him. That's everything you hear from the reporting that comes out of Denver. I'm with you. And so, like, look, I don't know how much of what you're referencing is him doing that and versus people saying when he got the job, here are things we didn't love about the previous guy. And maybe it's all just Adelman, just I'm doing this, but whatever. They just seem happier, right? There seems to be, you talked about there's not a lot of pressure on Denver. They felt like a team under massive pressure when Malone was coaching them. And, whatever the reason, whatever the thing, right? You won a championship with a coach and it worked that way a few years ago. And you think the same process will work. There seems to be a breath of fresh air reality going on for this interim head coach. And you're right. Like, maybe it loosens it up to have a little more freedom, right? To just say, you know what? I can do it my way because I'm an interim and the guys are buying in and we're all a little bit happier. And that gives him the flexibility to say to Russ or to say to MPJ, I think it's easier to say to MPJ or whoever, no, like, it's actually, we're going this way for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, and to be clear, I just want to say, I don't think that David Adelman at any point was like, you know what the solution is? Julian Strawther. He was trying to steal minutes and get a couple of minutes for Jamal Murray.
In real time, it was.
just to rest up. But yes, but and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he started making threes, and I think everybody in the building was like, "What is happening?" Including Julian Strother. But just my whole point here was credit to David Adelman to just be like, "I don't know what's happening, but we're just going to ride this until the wheels come off," and it worked out. On the other side with Mark Dagnall, a lot of people, Bill, have been clamoring for Alex Caruso to be inserted into the starting lineup because he's given them a lot off the bench in this series. He's been everywhere defensively. He's hit some big shots. He picked up some knucklehead fouls on Joker, but that's going to happen because Joker's a really tough guard. Would you make that switch? Or do you think that it would be kind of a panic move to alter a starting lineup that they've been basically stuck on, and they ended up as the 1 seed, and they won 68 games with these guys, but it is game 7?
I would not make the switch. I would not indicate to my guys that we're in trouble. My messaging would be, these are defending champions from a few years ago. They're not the defending champions now, but this is a championship caliber team. This is the best player on earth. That we're at this spot is not because we haven't been good enough. It's because we're playing a worthy adversary. We're going to win this thing on Sunday. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Let's make more shots. Let's move the block. No, I think that would be a panic move. And it's interesting you say that because I know you love armchair psychology. So let's lean into that, John Gonzalez.
Okay, all right.
To me, Dagnall has looked more and more stressed out as this series has gone on. And I think you've seen some coaches who look, I think coaching calmness is really important. And I know you made a joke that I don't think Doc Rivers is the best coach on earth. One of those reasons before he just became a walking meme of himself, right, when that was actually debatable whether he was a good coach, was he would panic and he would blame other guys. And I thought it was a GM who taught me this, and I think it's right. You can see as the playoffs go on, the pressure and how it impacts teams and how the coaches speak to the media, because there's so much going on. They have trouble sort of putting on fixing their face. I think you've seen some coaches look really calm and know, like Chris Finch, for example, calling out Anthony Edwards and not being worried about that. I think Dagnall looks stressed. I think he looks like a guy who's like, man, I went from being the toast of the town to I'm going to be ridiculed if this goes the wrong way. I'm not saying he's over his skis, but I think that he looks like he's feeling the pressure. And if he goes and changes the starting 5, I think he is signaling to his team that he's a little off balance. I would try everything in my power if I'm the Thunder head coach to just keep things as they've been.
I think, in terms of vibes, in terms of psychology, that makes sense. In terms of basketball, Lou Dort had moments where I think the easy switch is just swapping Lou Dort and Alex Caruso because it's like for like, and Caruso has outplayed Dort with the exception of Dort hitting a couple of massive threes in game 5. They mothballed him in game 4 because he couldn't hit a shot. Now, all of a sudden, he came back to life, but if you were going to make the switch, that's the one I would do. Either that or I'd break up the bigs.
You can also, by the way, just take a little sort of little lesson from Adelman that you just talked about and just go with your starting 5. And if it doesn't go well, you can make quicker adjustments. Mm-hmm. Starting a guy is not the same thing as playing him for 35 minutes, right? You can kind of, so I think you can thread this needle between what we're both. I think you go with the group that's got you there. And if it's not working, you can quickly give them the hook or quickly sort of make an adjustment on here's what my rotations are going to look like.
I think that's fair. All right. In the event, unlikely, well, maybe likely, they're the favorites, but whatever. In the event that they lose this game, right? What kind of alert level, panic level might Oklahoma City be in? Would this be if they lose this game and they don't get to the conference finals? And again, it would be historic if that happened. All of a sudden, is Sam Presti blowing up the slow and steady plan wins the race? And let's use some of this bushel of draft picks and some of these players that we have at the end of the bench that it could be useful to another team in the honest sweepstakes or to identify another star.
I'll see your question and raise you a question I was thinking while I answer yours as well. Is Dagnall evaluated differently? Is it is there a hot seat issue maybe entering next year? To answer your question, I think we discussed this on the pod a few days ago. I can't remember. I don't even remember what day of the week it is. It's Friday, right?
I know.
Sam Presti, when I was in Chicago, Sam Presti was walking around, and not in a bad way, a well-deserved way, like he owned the universe. Executive of the year, toast of the town. Sure. His team's about to go through the conference finals. I'm not in Chicago anymore, but I would imagine, loaded with picks. And some of that, I think, is just he knows that things are going well and he can adjust if he needs to. To answer your question, I think there probably are some adjustments. Sam Presti is a very deliberate thinker. He's very methodical. He keeps his cards close. He operates more almost as NFL people I've covered than NBA people that I've covered. I think he would entertain it and think about it. And I think part of the reason he is sort of the modern Danny Ainge in terms of the deals that he accomplishes is he doesn't say to himself, I have to go do this. He explores deals, which gives him the leverage to say no, which means he gets better deals. So I think he would go out there and see what he could get. If he could for lack of a better term, rip somebody off and improve the team, he would do it. And if that's a blockbuster trade, great. And if it's not, not. I don't think he operates in the way where if they lose on Sunday, he says, all right, time to get Giannis. It's let me investigate this and see what it looks like, and then I'll decide.
Yeah, he's a really thoughtful, methodical person. I'd be surprised if he made some sort of panic move. If Giannis was in their best interests and they crash
Right.
out in game 7, then it might make sense. But yeah, he could also, go identify somebody that we haven't even thought about that isn't maybe that we don't even realize is going to become available and decides, okay, let's tinker with this a little bit because they do have so many assets. I mean, they've got this bushel of picks and they can't
It's crazy.
use them all. I mean, they basically are just like resetting the end of their bench with all these picks and keeping the payroll down. But at some point, you might look at the end of your bench and go, okay, like Aaron Wiggins is really good, and Isaiah Joe is useful, and Kason Wallace is fantastic, and like maybe we offload some of these guys along with some picks and upgrade to one bigger star. And try to supercharge this thing for next year if in the event they don't make it to the conference finals. All right, so we got to do a pick here, Bill. As I mentioned, Oklahoma City -8. You and I both took Oklahoma City in the series, but talking this through with you, and after the last 2 games, I thought the Nugs could have won game 5. They didn't. They gave it away in the fourth quarter. They were terrible in the fourth quarter. But then in game 6 at home, as you mentioned, it's tough if you're Oklahoma City to beat Joker on his floor, but they just played better. And Oklahoma City could not get a shot to go down in the fourth quarter. SGA had no help whatsoever, and they all, including Dagnall, looked tight. So now we've got all of this going into OKC for game 7. I can't wait for the game. I'm leaning Nuggets.
I'm leaning Nuggets too. Game 4, I believe, was 7 years ago. Is what it feels like on our schedules.
Yeah,
so I may not remember this. I may not remember this properly, but my memory is no. Excuse me. Game 3. I think I said the winner of that game was going to win the series. Yeah, and Denver won that game, and I got lucky that we got to this point, but I don't know is the answer because I don't know the idea of how the Thunder respond to pressure and their clutch time play. And we've sort of seen both examples in the series. Whatever we think we sort of know from that, we don't, because a game 7 elimination game in the circumstances we've described against Joker, that's just a different thing. That's a different animal altogether. So my guess is that the Thunder are less likely to respond well to it, and Joker is more likely to have a Joker-esque game and or be able to get his guys. And if Jamal Murray plays well, as you noted, it just opens up so many other things for the team. Now you have a double whammy, and it creates so much space and looks for other guys. I'm leaning Denver too, although it is such a coin flip question mark game to try to figure out.
I'll really is. You know what? I'm going to do it too. I'm going to go Denver too, even though we both picked Oklahoma City to win the series. I don't know if you're aware of the "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" meme with Mac, where he's talking something through, and he goes, I'm taking both sides. That way, I always come out on top. So that's what we've just done. We've taken Oklahoma City in the series and Denver to win Game 7. Should be fantastic. That's coming in on Sunday. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we're going to talk about the team that is awaiting the winner of this series between Oklahoma City and Denver. The Wolves, who've just had their feet up. They're having a great time, Bill. They haven't played since Tuesday? They're just watching this whole thing, hoping these two teams bludgeon each other and bloody each other, and then they'll pick up the pieces on the other side. So we'll discuss the Wolves, how they've looked, their prospects against these two teams. Coming up, this is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. The Wolves, Bill. The Wolves have just been sitting here watching this Oklahoma City Nuggets series, enjoying themselves. They won the series against the Warriors in 5. They eliminated the Lakers in 5. Their odds on winning the West, actually, this was going into last night. This might have changed, but as of yesterday, it was Oklahoma City that was still favored at -270, followed by the Wolves at +270, and the Nuggets are the long favorite in this. Bill, is it time for us to start looking at the Wolves as maybe the presumptive Western Conference? Everything's kind of breaking the right way for them. They've looked fantastic, and now they get rest.
Maybe the time for you, John. I've been saying this for a minute now. I mean, they are. I think they are. I think they are the better. Yes, I think that they are. This is a team that made the conference finals last year. They've been there. They've done that. And I think with all respect to SGA, and he's been great. I think the best 2 players on the floor, or 2 of the best 3 players on the floor, are clearly going to be Timberwolves players. I can't believe I'm saying that because Julius Randle is the
I
third
know.
guy that I'm thinking about, but he's been so much
I
more
know.
reliable. And, like SGA's been great in this series and Joker's been great in this series, right? And if Jamal Murray had been better more often, the series would probably be over. If Michael Porter Jr. had remembered how to shoot earlier, maybe we have some different outcomes. Weirdly, I'm not worried about Julius Randle being great. I think he's going to be outstanding, and I trust Anthony Edwards as much in the playoffs as I do SGA, and that's not a knock on SGA. I just think Ant's that good. Yes, for me, like whenever we get to the prediction, I'm taking the Timberwolves in the next round. I think there's something about them. They're balanced. They're one of the only teams in the NBA that were top 10 in offense and defense. Now the Thunder are one of the other ones, but I think we sort of undersold the level of balance that this Timberwolves team had because they barely fell to that 6 seed. They've beaten look at the players that Ant has just sent packing in his career. He's already beaten Joker in Denver before. He's beaten LeBron. He's beaten. You just sort of go down the list. Steph, I don't know if that counts because he was hurt.
Yeah.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Jimmy for
Luka.
Sure. That one counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's beaten. Ant has 20 playoff games, 20 playoff wins. It's the most by any player in franchise history. That's a low bar in Minnesota, but still very impressive. Crazy. Now, I haven't gotten to the conference finals yet to like really decide. You and I both took the Wolves against the Warriors in that series, but I have to like think about it a little bit more because if Oklahoma City gets through to the next round, they'll have beaten Denver. That's a big mountain that they have, a big hill that they've gotten over. And I just want to see Ant take care of the ball a little bit more because Oklahoma City, despite the fact that they're scuffling a little bit on offense, they're awesome on defense. And the one thing that they do better than everybody in the league is turn you over and then turn those turnovers into points. And Ant was not exactly careful with the ball in that series. In the final game, he had 7 turnovers. He was just throwing the ball all around the gym. I just want to see him tighten that up a little bit. And then I'm probably with you on the Wolves, but yeah, they've been fantastic. And Julius Randle, who, we have discussed about how you and I were, and Sam as well, were super out on him early in the season. Now all of us are super in on him. I don't know how you couldn't be. He was awesome in game 5. He went for 29, 8, and 5. He was awesome in game 4. He was awesome in game 3. Between games 2 and 3, Bill, he had 23 combined assists, which is the most playoff assists over any 2-game period in Wolves history. He's just changed the way he plays. If this Julius Randle had been this version of himself, say the last couple of years, he might still be in New York.
Yeah, he's been amazing. I want to circle back to what you said about Ant and sort of some of his problems with protecting the ball. He also didn't shoot well for long stretches of that series against the Warriors and gutted it out. And you were talking, and it occurred to me, you got to be healthy. Lisa Leslie's right? You got to be healthy and deep these days, war of attrition. You also have to be lucky. Luck is a significant part of winning an NBA championship. And maybe part of what we're going to look back and see that the Wolves' luck was when Anthony Edwards wasn't shooting well, when he went through this mini shooting slump, he was playing a team that didn't have Steph Curry. That is a very fortuitous bit of timing. Yeah, so if Ant rolls into the next series, whoever he plays, and he's the guy that in the regular season took the most threes of anybody in the NBA, and the guy that made 40% of those threes, and the guy that therefore can hit the long ball, but can also obviously attack the rim, and he's able to get the ball to Julius Randle, or Randle just operates and sort of creates his own offense, who's been amazing, and then you plug in all the other guys. We haven't seen the best version of the Timberwolves lately because we haven't seen the best version of Ant consistently. I think we probably will. I think they're going to be an even more difficult challenge than what he is. Even against the Lakers, if I remember right, John, he shot really badly in that closeout game from deep. They just won anyway.
Yeah, he's had some shooting issues for sure. What I've liked about it, though, to the extent that you can like when a superstar player isn't shooting the ball well, is that he's changed his game and been willing to get back to old Ant, getting to the rim, trying to be a distributor. Those things are to his benefit for sure. He had a playoff career high 12 assists in game 5, right? The shot still wasn't falling. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to do some other things. And I thought that was to his benefit. I'll tell you somebody who believes in the Wolves, Bill, and I thought was like really complimentary of them after they got eliminated was Draymond Green. He went out of his way to praise that team. He was sitting there and it wasn't just Ant and Julius. I'm paraphrasing here, but he was like, hey, look, Ant and Julius Randle have been fantastic, but it's not just their 1 and 2. And he went through the roster and he was like, Jaden McDaniels has really stepped up defensively. He even gave credit to Rudy Gobert, and it wasn't tongue in cheek. He wasn't doing it Draymond style. He was like serious about it. So I thought like, sometimes Draymond surprises you. Like when he's just thinking about basketball and just like being smart basketball Draymond guy and like not being angry at the world about whatever he's angry about on that day. Like he was like he gave a really thoughtful answer about why the Wolves are so dangerous.
I'm going to temper your enthusiasm about Draymond Green with a different perspective. By the way, I
He's
think everything
changed,
that he
Bill.
said is
He
true.
learned his lesson.
I think everything he said is true. Nothing he said did he mean. Draymond Green, look, I haven't talked to every guy in the NBA. Draymond Green's one of the smartest people in the league. I mean, he is a smart, right,
Yes.
calculating guy. And if you talk smack all the time and you play aggressive and or dirty and you make yourself a villain and you're Mr. I'm going to win and you're doing that because you have Steph Curry next to you. It's easier in a would-be bar fight to sort of get aggressive with your mouth when you have Steph Curry standing next to you and he goes away and you guys lose and you don't win a game without Steph and you're Draymond, you play badly. You might want to praise the team that beat. They're amazing. They're geniuses. That's about Draymond to me protecting Draymond. Draymond Green does not have that level of graciousness, in my opinion, if they lose in 7 and Steph's out there and they're battling, he gets to pretend that he's a winner and a star. That is him looking around going, oh, there's no Steph here, and I just embarrassed myself. I'm gonna pump these guys up rather than have you, because then it's like, oh, isn't Draymond great? No, man, Draymond wasn't great. Draymond was hapless and wasn't amazing offensively. And where's like the winning mentality? And at least to me, that is Draymond doing everything he can to make Draymond look good when he looked real bad when it counted most.
He didn't look good. Jimmy didn't look good. They were 23-8 with Jimmy during the regular season, but Jimmy in game 5, 17 points on 11 shots. That's not going to get it done, right? I mean, Draymond too, 10, 6, and 6. I mean, you're not going to expect Draymond to be the Draymond where he knocked down 4 threes. I think it was in game 1. You're not expecting that. He's not an offensive juggernaut. You do need him to, I thought he was really good in that game 2 after Steph went out where he was like point Draymond. So yeah, I'm with you that those two guys really didn't step forward. What do you make of Steve Kerr? He didn't say that, we would have won this he didn't say that they would have won if Steph Curry had been out there. He did say, however, that, look, he was saying like the Wolves were good.
Yeah.
It didn't break right for us. We're probably going to run it back next year with some tweaks. How did you feel about like the way that, and Steph Curry said the same thing too. He said that, had I been out there, maybe it would have been different, but like he likes the fact that he and Draymond and Jimmy and Steve Kerr are all under contract for the next 2 years. And that basically they need to get bigger. No kidding. They need a center aside from Draymond, and they need shooting. Who doesn't?
Yeah. By the way, it's not wrong that they might've won the series, and there's nothing wrong with saying that, because in an alternate universe, if that series takes place and Minnesota in game 1 loses Anthony Edwards and Steph is healthy,
yeah, fair,
the Warriors probably win the series. And that doesn't take anything away from what it turns out the Timberwolves, we know, in fact, in this reality, actually in reality are. They're a Western Conference, at a minimum, maybe better basketball team. No Ant, they're not getting there. No Steph, the Warriors weren't going to get there. I think the question about the Warriors, and as you sort of contextualize whether or not you want to run it back, isn't whether they could have won the series with Steph. Of course they could have. It's the fact they couldn't win a game without Steph. They couldn't even hold court one time at home court without Steph. What does that say about Jimmy? What does that say about Dre? I think maybe the only sort of glasses half full reality is that Jonathan Kuminga, and notice when the season ends, the sort of leaks come out. The reporting that Steve Kerr was frustrated with Kuminga in part because reportedly he looked off Steph in games in the regular season and wanted to generate his own offense rather than give the ball to the best shooter of all time. That is, I think, people close to Steve Kerr or whatever, Steve Kerr, whoever, the coaching staff trying to justify what happened with Kuminga and how good he looked because it's a bad look for Kerr. Good news is for the Warriors, Kuminga's value probably went up a little bit. Like, if nothing else, you just had a guy play at a really high level, drop 33 in a game, like looked athletic, you can paint a narrative. He doesn't fit here, he'll fit there. And so maybe there is the ability with Kuminga to go out and look, you're not landing Giannis, but maybe there's, although reportedly Giannis would like to be a Warrior, but maybe you can go and you can supplement what you have, because I'm not convinced just running it back is going to lead to the outcome that you want.
It's running it back with the 3 big guys, and then you decide what you're going to do on the margins, because obviously they do need, I don't think Quentin Post is your long-term answer at center. You're going to need some kind of big, maybe there's a Nikola Vucevic out there in your future. They tried to do it last time. For whatever reason, the Bulls are unwilling to move off of him. He's at a relatively reasonable
price. The Mavs might move on from a big.
Change. Right. Yeah. The Mavs got a big.
Yeah.
Find a big, find some shooting, and Kuminga would be the natural selection to unplug somebody. Look, he caught a whole bunch of DNP CDs in the end of the regular season and then in the postseason until Steph went down. And then once Steph went down, 32 minutes in game 5, 26 points, 30 minutes in game 4, 23 points, 36 minutes in game 3, 30 points. He played really well. I mean, I just don't think he fits on that team with this organization under Steve Kerr. He is a guy, though, with what he, clearly. He is a guy, though, with what he did in the postseason against the Wolves when he was asked to step up and he did so, that you could absolutely dangle in front of somebody and get something in return. And you know what? This could be a situation that it's better for both parties just to move on. It's probably better for Jonathan Kuminga to go find a place where they'll play him and use him and try to tailor whatever their offense is to his abilities.
Yeah, no, look, the other sort of a complicated reality is the West is loaded. It was loaded before. It's going to be more loaded next year. We don't know what the Rockets are going to add. Even if they don't, they're going to grow from that. We've got the Spurs. So you can do all the right moves, and you can still have a guy like Steph Curry get hurt and be out in the second round if you're lucky. So they're going to try to improve as best they can. The real problem is they got to be healthy. We don't know, and the West is going to be even tougher than next year. There's no guarantees there.
No guarantees. All right, another break, and then on the other side, I got one more Warriors-related question for you, Bill. We'll do that, and then, of course, we have to get into Celtics at Knicks at MSG tonight. Game 6, huge game for both franchises. We'll discuss that with previews and predictions coming up on Beyond the Arc. This is CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Massive Game 6 in New York tonight, Bill. Celtics and Knicks. Knicks are up 3-2, but they did not look great in Game 5 up in Boston. Celtics won that by 25. Knicks are favored tonight, -2.5. But the last time that they've clinched a series, Bill, any series at home at MSG was 1999. So I don't know which way I feel about this. I don't know who's under more pressure. I just have to read this Joe Mazzulla quote to you. Somebody asked him the pressure question, and Joe Mazzulla, bless his heart, I love him so much, never change, replied, "We're all going to be dead soon, and it really doesn't matter anymore. So there's zero pressure." Not wrong.
Well, I hope not soon, but relatively speaking, though, I hope not. Hope not soon. He's amazing. By the way,
he is.
I don't know if that sales pitch is going to work to the Celtics, but they're probably going to laugh to his players. I do think it's more pressure on the Knicks. It's kind of a bizarro reality in that Celtics have already won a championship, right? They got a ring last year, and now, fair or not fair, they have a built-in excuse. Jason Tatum went down to injury. That is a way to sort of write off all the blame for the season. There will be difficult decisions in the offseason, sort of what you do, and with bills coming due for sort of this Celtics team that you've collected, I think it's not a must-win game because we've seen the Celtics blow a Game 7 against the Heat a couple years ago in the conference finals, right? Even more at stake than what there is here. I think all the pressure's on New York. The good news, New York fans, is you have Jalen Brunson, and I'm not sure anybody has been more capable in the regular season and the playoffs combined in handling that pressure than that guy.
Brunson's been amazing. Caveat, Game 5, he fouls out with 7 and change left, which absolutely cannot happen tonight, but I don't expect it to because it was such like an aberration.
Feels like an anomaly.
It's super unusual for him. He's Mr. Reliable. The real question, Bill, is shooting both ways, right? Because the Knicks did not shoot the ball well.
That's
in the same way that we always talk about who's going to be there for SGA. Well, who's going to be there for Jalen Brunson? Because Jalen Brunson's going to he's going to be on one tonight. Karl Anthony Towns has been mostly good in the postseason, but there's been flashes where sometimes he ducks out, but he's been mostly good. It's OG and Bridges that have taken turns. Like one night, one of them's there, the other night, the other one's there.
Right.
They need both of those guys to show up tonight for the Knicks. But I'm with you. The most pressure, I think, is on the Knicks because you're at home. You did not play well up in Boston. Now MSG is going to be absolutely rocking. If they lose that, oh man, going up to Boston for Game 7, that's the kind of situation where that's all you're going to be talking about for the next however many days. Because Game 7 is on Monday, Bill, is, oh no, did the Knicks blow this thing? And are the Celtics somehow going to beat them after being down 3-1 without Jason Tatum?
By the way, just circling back quickly to OG and Bridges, it's almost as if they're tired. It's almost as if they played a lot of minutes this year and they don't look like themselves. Huh? Isn't that? I'm just trying to get my mind around where that might have, come from.
I was thinking about like, okay, well, what could you really do with that roster? Like, are you really going to play more campaign minutes in the playoffs? No, I guess it's more Deuce
I have a
McBride.
suggestion.
Sure.
Or a new head coach if things don't go
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
in
I
this
think that's going to
series.
happen. If they blow this series, I
I
think
do
it's going to
too.
happen.
I think it's certainly, if you're Leon Rose, who runs basketball operations, a very reasonable thing to do some deliberations on, not in the moment, but to really think through, talk through, and try to figure out. You mentioned this, and I want to put a pin in it just as put it under highlighter. The shooting. This is a Boston team that operates with an understanding of variance. They shoot a lot of threes.
Yes.
We've talked about the fact that they shot more than anybody else, and sometimes they'll make a lot of those threes. I just think it's worth noting that the two remarkable comebacks by the Knicks that sort of started the series and gave them a stranglehold on it happened when the Celtics could not buy a three-point shot. And when they missed, John, if I'm remembering properly, 75 threes between those two games, and still comebacks were warranted. Right. And still they had massive leads, and still the game was in doubt, in question who was going to win until sort of late in affairs. That's not a great sign for the Knicks if Boston shoots 42 threes, which, by the way, would be 6 below their average, and hits 37% of them, which is not an outstanding number. The history of this series would tell you they're in that game, or maybe they're ahead in that game. And so it's like, and that's assuming that because if both these teams hit 38% of their threes, probably it's going to be that Boston's going to make 4 or 5 more, or 2 or 3 or 4 more. And so the shooting is going to be everything, man. Like, are the Celtics going to shoot 19% from 3? If they are in one of these games, they're going to lose. Barring that, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened in game 5. They shot 49 threes in game 5, and they hit 45%. And they won it easily, right? I mean, Jalen Brown also stepped forward. You're obviously going to need a hefty dose of Jalen Brown. He had a career high 12 assists. Derek White, who's streaky, they all are. He hit 7 threes in that game. But we didn't even get to what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis, who started the game, played 12 minutes, and basically has been unplayable. In comes Luke Cornett, who they call the Green Cornet. He had 7 blocks in that game, Bill. In the rest of the postseason, he's had 5 going into game 5. He had 5 total blocks. So, I mean, like, it was a weird game for Boston in a lot of ways, and yet, like, they pretty much dominated game 5. So, we'll see what happens. We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, Bill, we still have to do our predictions. We're going to think about it during the break, and then on the other side, we will give our predictions for this massive game 6 tonight between the Celtics and Knicks. That's coming up. This is Beyond the Arc on CBS Sports Network. All right, welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Wrapping up the show with Celtics Knicks game 6 prediction tonight. The Knicks are favored by 2.5 points, Bill. As I mentioned, the last time they've clinched any playoff series at MSG was 1999. The last time they went to the conference finals was 2000. You get to go first. Are they doing it tonight?
I don't know, but I will take the New York Knicks. I mean, look, it's always tough to call these things. I just think that the way the Celtics operate with their variance and how many threes they take, and how they're going to, doesn't matter if they're making or missing, they're going to try to take 45 or 50 threes if they can get them off, it makes them harder to figure out in short bursts. I like the Knicks, but is OG going to show up? How's Jalen Brown going to play? What's that 3-point shooting percentage going to be? How are the Knicks going to shoot? Is Cat going to have a game where Cat should have games where he occasionally looks like a top 10 player? Give me the Knicks, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think this is more of just what I want. And I want to see another game 7. And I want to see how Knicks fans react to game 7. I think I've told you, I have a lot of Knicks fan friends and a lot of Celtics fans friends. And I just want to see them all super nervous going into a game 7. So I'll take the Celtics tonight. We'll see how it goes in MSG. That's going to do it for us today. But for now, for our NBA insider, Bill Reiter, I'm John Gonzalez. We're back at it on Monday right here on CBS Sports Network. Come and join us, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend.